And here we go. Anyway, here I am, Jim from my Motorrad. Got my Cortec bully gloves on. And here we go. Gonna talk about why I bought a BMW. Anyway, back in 2010, I was riding a Kawasaki Nomad 1600, a 2007. And it was a nice bike, kind of a lot like a Road King. And I liked the bike, but I wanted something more. I wanted something with cruise control, something that had a little more power, something that had a little more storage, ABS. You know, a more modern bike in a sense. So I set out to get another motorcycle. I sold my Nomad to a fellow V-Rock member, and first place I went was the Kawasaki dealer. And I did a test ride of a Kawasaki Voyager, which was sort of a new bike that came out at the time, that and the Vaquero. So I tried the Voyager, went on a test ride about 15 miles, something like that, and it really didn't impress me. It really wasn't all that much quicker than the Nomad. It was a lot heavier. The luggage seemed flimsy or really not that great. And it even had more vibration. I don't know. It just didn't strike me right. It also seemed a little more cramped. I'm kind of tall. I'm 6'5", 34-inch inseam. So I basically passed on that. The next bike I went to go look at was a 2010 Harley Davidson Ultra. The Ultra Classic. And I tried that. I went to the local Harley dealer where I lived at the time, which was Big Barn, Harley Davidson in Des Moines area. And it was a really strange experience. The salesman there, I think he was used to dealing with people that, I don't know, for lack of a better word, were Harley Davidson, fans. And it was just, he literally, kind of said, well, don't you just believe? Not exactly, dude. So I basically asked him, what's your elevator pitch to someone that might be slightly left-brained? How do you sell to someone that isn't a believer? Anyway, he looked at me like I had 5 foreheads. So I decided to take a test ride to see what the Ultra was like. And he made me follow him on like a 4-mile ride, which really is insufficient to find out, what a motorcycle is like, what it's about. And I don't know. The Ultra, wasn't any worse than the Voyager in terms of power and whatnot. It was a 96-inch. Whereas the Voyager is 103, I think. So it was actually, when you compare it that way, it wasn't terrible. It was really excellent, low-speed handling, but it was even more cramped than the Voyager for me, in terms of the cockpit and whatnot. I mean, it wasn't a horrible bike. I wish I could have rode it a little more, but it's not like it really impressed me a lot. Okay, so next. I go to a dealer that sells Victory, and they had a Victory Vision for a test ride. So I took that for a test ride. And from my point of view, I don't know. First things, the luggage doesn't have the capacity that the size of the bike would lead you to believe. That's one thing. It's a beautiful bike. It was well made, but the luggage, you open it up and you're like, huh, you know. But it was well made. The other thing, if you want to call it knocks against it, the cruise control looked like it was basically an add-on from the J.C. Whitney catalog. And the brakes were wooden. You know, they didn't have good feel. I wasn't impressed with the braking at all. I mean, probably a fix for that would be like some EBC HH compound pads. Probably would take care of a lot of that. So I took that out for a good test ride though. The dealer in question was Van Wall. At the time they were in Perry. And I took it out for a good test ride. I don't know how many miles it rode, 20, 30 miles, something like that. And I don't know. It was a good bike. It was quicker than the Ultra or the Voyager. Probably handled better at higher speeds, more power and whatnot. But I don't know. I didn't fall in love with it. Let's put it that way. Anyway. So at that point, I was kind of like, I don't know, man. So the same dealer that sold the Victories also sold BMW. So I asked about, hey, doesn't BMW have a Tourer, the K1200 LT? And the owner of the dealer said, well, they just stopped producing that last year, and we don't have any in stock that are leftovers. But we have this R1200 RT that's a leftover, 2009. Why don't you take that for a ride? Tossed me the keys, said have fun. And that really was the end of it. I actually had to put gas in the bike to get back to the dealer. So there's that. And the test ride went well. The RT is a lot lighter than the other bikes, more powerful, quicker, faster, handles better, stopped like incredibly, you know, like you threw an anchor out. It was like riding a motorcycle again. You know, when I first started riding motorcycles, my first bike was a KZ1000. So it kind of reminded me of that. And there's that. And I'll continue on when I get out. Anyway, I hope that recorded before. Oh man. Anyway, here we are. So I was at the dealer and I did the test ride. I had to put gas in this bike here in order to get back. And so I got back. I said I have to think about it, whatever, you know, and whatnot. So I came back and I basically told the owner of the dealership, I said, I'll buy the bike, but it's got to fit in my budget, which is basically $19,000 out the door. And I want the 49-liter top case that comes with it, which at the time was a $900 option. Matt Van Howling, who's the owner of that dealership, basically, yeah, I think you could do that. You know, I mean, the bike had been at the dealer, you know, probably a year or so, and I guess he was motivated to sell it. So we made the deal, $19,000 out the door with the top case, and the rest is history, as they say. So that's basically how I bought a BMW. It was kind of happenstance in a sense. My only exposure to BMW motorcycles was through my chiropractor, a guy named Stan Botway. He rode BMWs for years, put hundreds of thousands of miles on them, traveling all over the country, Alaska, I mean, he went everywhere. So I was always kind of, in the back of my mind, impressed by the stories I heard about them. But BMW motorcycles always seem kind of boring and staid, if you will, you know? So I never really considered them when I was, a lot younger, definitely. And especially, coming from, the last two bikes I had before this were cruisers. I had two Vulcans. It's a different kind of ride. Totally different kind of ride. But here we are today, I've had this bike over 10 years now, and it's doing okay. So, I'm not, unhappy about the bike per se. It's worked well. Hasn't been flawless. It's had a couple issues and whatnot that were taken care of under warranty. One of them was the pulleys on the throttle body, where the throttle cables attach, actually broke off. And it's a known problem on these bikes. And I actually ended up fixing that myself. It was out of warranty, and what the dealer wanted was, pretty nuts. It was like $1,400. So basically I fixed it for about $250. I basically do all the work and repairs, maintenance on this bike myself anyway. And I'll be the first to tell you, BMW shortcomings, whether it's the corporate mentality or, the idiosyncratic problems with the motorcycles, I'm not such a fanboy that I won't speak the truth about the bike, a lot of people get hung up on that, They will not speak bad about anything they're into, I don't live like that. Truth. Anyway, that's about it. So, this is my R1200 RT. My daughter named it Hans Erich, or Hans Erich. And Hans has been pretty good, I don't know. I call it my little ME 109, a Messerschmitt. That's what it kind of reminds me of. But it's cool. Maybe I'll get another bike to go along with it. Been thinking about it. I've been looking at Harley. It's either between Harley or a BMW if I was to get one. I really like the Road King a lot. Or the police bikes. And if not a Harley, I would get another BMW probably. Either an R18 Classic or another RT. But I would order it stripped. Because they're really expensive, and a lot of the crap I don't need on it. I don't need a nav system. I don't need a radio or a stereo. I have Bluetooth here, and basically, I listen to my music in my helmet. I don't need any of that. So that's about it. So it's either that, or I'm going to get a car instead. And, maybe that could be part of the channel. Although it wouldn't be a BMW. BMW cars can be a horror show when they get out of warranty. And I would want to avoid that kind of exercise. But the car that really turns me on is a Dodge Challenger. I like the RT or the RT Scat Pack. My favorite color is plum crazy purple. But Dodge doesn't make that anymore. So what they have now is something called Hell Raisin, which is a red shift purple versus a blue shift purple with plum crazy was. So it's one of those two things. Either I'll get a new bike or I'll get a car. I don't know. In the comments, maybe you could let me know what you think. What would you rather have, knowing that you already have a motorcycle? Would you go for the car, or would you go for another bike? I don't know. So, interesting to hear what you have to say. If I got a Challenger, I really like to get the manual transmission. over the automatic, even though automatic is quicker. The problem with the automatic is that it comes with the NDS, which is that variable displacement stuff, cylinder deactivation, and I'm really not a fan of that. I had a Chevy Suburban with AFM, which is the same kind of thing. Lots of problems. So I would get the manual transmission, which doesn't have that. And that is that, you know. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to donate, I have my PayPal in there. That would help out. And see you guys on the road, you know. And you be you. Everybody else is taken. And thanks again.